What is up, everybody? I'm trying to keep this video a little bit shorter than I did yesterday. Today I'm just going to be responding to all your comments, and let's just get right into it. Let's go. We're going to be doing what does Lafreniere mean for the Rangers in the video I posted yesterday. This one right here, the first one, I'm just going to run through. Yes, I did notice it. Thank you. I fixed that. I don't know why it was making all that noise. Yes, I did read through all these. Yes, I agree with that 100%. That guy must have been around a while if he's saying the Insaners, man. That guy's probably been around this channel for 4 years now. I don't know. Do I think Foss is staying? I like to think that Fox is staying, but if Kravtsov is going to contend for a spot, or if the Rangers see there's a spot for Kravtsov, I don't think so. I mean, you could stuff him on the fourth line, but I don't know if Foss wants that. Foss might want a bigger role. I agree with that 100%. I'm not even going to read the replies on it. I agree with that. They won't let him walk because they have his rights. But I do think they're going to try to shop him, although I don't know how much I agree with it. I don't want to trade anyone. I agree. I don't have a time to read all that, and at least not on video. I might reply to that individually. I tend to agree with that a little bit. As much as I love Tony DeAngelo, if we can get a big name center for him, why not? Yep. Yeah. Oh God, I agree with that, man. I would love Barkov. Just give him a 7th round pick for Barkov. That's it. I think these are all the comments here. I mean, I hope so, man. I hope so. I really hope so. I would love to overshoot Barzal, but I don't think it happens. I just don't think it's an overshoot you could send Barzal at the Islanders wouldn't match, and if they're not matching it, then you're stuck with a huge cap hit. And as much as I love Barzal, Barzal's not really the kind of center we're looking for right now. I think when the Rangers keep saying we need a 2C, we need a two-way center like a Cirelli or a Barkov. Okay, I'm gonna finish that. Okay, let's take a look at this video. This video had a lot of comments just that I really wanted to get into. Yes, I know. You know what it was? When the camera on this computer first turns on, it has a ring audio to let you know that it's on, but for some reason in that video it just didn't stop going, and I don't know why. I appreciate that very much. So sorry, definitely one of them. I don't know. I don't think I'm one of the more knowledgeable ones, but I appreciate you even saying that. Yes, I agree with that. I just don't like Brendan Smith even on the team. Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I think that, and I got into this in the last video. I mean, we have just there's gonna be a line next season at some point where it's just rookies out there, and rookies like young guys that inexperienced NHLers. And honestly, as much as I think they'd be helped more in their development by playing with a guy that's been in the league a few years and has played big minutes for a few years, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna be. We're going to have to put the kids out there together and just see what happens. I agree with that, but it kind of depends on what we get back. Because Buchnevich had a phenomenal playoffs and a really good regular season. And Tony had a great regular season, but played hurt in the playoffs. So we'll have to see. I still think Tony DeAngelo is one of the better. Him and Fox are the two best defensemen on the Rangers. And I don't really think it's even up for discussion. I think Tony was our best defenseman, not this past season, but the one before. Before, I think he had like 30-something points. But that season, he was our best defenseman. It wasn't even close. This past season, him and Fox were definitely 1-2 best defensemen on the team. I agree. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if Hank comes back around. He might just leave. I agree with you 100%, dude. Yeah, if the Rangers don't select Lafreniere, it would be the biggest mistake ever. When you get the first overall pick, you pick the best player on the board. You make a mistake if you don't. I like the idea of trading out. Yep. Yes. Yes, thank you. Stay the course. Ride out the year with the old contracts. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You don't want to trade for Cirelli. I agree with. Oversheet Vince Dunn, I don't agree with. I think, again, Vince Dunn is a little bit sheltered in St. Louis. He's got a phenomenal team in front of him. He's playing really well. I'm not dissing him in his game, but I think he's playing a little bit out of his own shoes right now, and I think it would be irresponsible to pay that man over $5 million a year. So I'll hold off on Vince Dunn. And again, we got kids coming up. So I'm going to get to that in a minute, too. Just going to force the credit deal. I wasn't a big fan of the contract when it was given out, but it's even the only reason. Well, I thought it was a bad contract from the get go. I just think it's even worse now. Nobody plans for that. Yeah, I agree. Nobody plans for that. Yeah. Signing Kreider, what we gave him at the time. I don't know. I still think that even signing Kreider at the time was just a bad idea. I'm gonna just go over one more time. I made an entire video about this, but I'm gonna go over one more time why I think re-signing Chris Kreider was just an awful idea. All right, so we're paying him $6.5 million a year. He's never played a full season in his career. Never. He's never scored more than 53 points in a season, and he's never clipped 30 goals once. And we signed him when he was on a hot streak. If he didn't have that hot streak, this 24 goals would be more like 15 goals in 63 games, and those 40 points would be closer to 30. And if people want to say, oh, well, he's a playoff producer, well, he's less than 0.5 points per game in the playoffs. I mean, look at the cup run, less than half a point a game. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the cup run right now. The cup run, he was friggin' awesome. The year after that, when we needed him, 9 points in 19 games, 7 goals in 19 games, not going to cut it. Yeah, that was just shitty. That was the year we got Eric Stahl. That was brutal. He played like shit when we lost Ottawa in the second round that year. It's just, I don't know. Takes a lot of fucking penalties, and he doesn't fight, so his penalties are minors and double minors. He takes a lot of dumb penalties. He cost us late in the game, and he's wildly inconsistent with his scoring. Like, he's so freaking streaky. Now, Kreider, I think re-signing him was a big mistake. And honestly, you could say the Rangers have enough futures at this point, fine, but I would have rather have had futures than had to pay this guy in the 7 years at $6.5 million a year. We're going to be paying a guy that's never played a full season at the age of 29 till he's 36, $6.5 million a year. That's something if you do, that's like what the Sharks did with Brent Burns. They knew their window was going to be done after 2 or 3 years, but they signed him 8 years because they get him at a lower dollar count. The Rangers have the world in front of them, and they went ahead and signed a guy that's going to be 30. No, 30's not old. 30's not old, but 35, 36 is, and especially with a guy that's never played a full season in his career and is wildly inconsistent with scoring. I just thought it was a big mistake. I'm happy Kreider got his bag. I'm happy when people get paid. He made his money. He's set for the rest of his life. That's great. That's awesome. But coming from a Rangers fan perspective of where I want to see this team succeed forever and always, having this guy on this team at that dollar amount, it's going to be a detriment for a while. Especially because as the salary cap stays flat the next few years because of this COVID bullshit that just ruined the world, thank you very much, and the salary cap stays flat, that hit's going to hurt more and more. Right? Instead of every single year the percentage of cap that 6.5 is affecting going down, it's going to stay stagnant and it's going to wait to go down. I think that sucks. I just never thought re-signing Kreider was a good idea. I was excited at the idea of trading him away. I mean, it needed to happen, and what we would have gotten back for him would have been great. Now, granted, we got Lafreniere now, so I'm not complaining. Hindsight is 20/20, but I hope the Rangers look to trade him or just move him, man. $6.5 million for the next 7 years, and I'm going to show you. I made it cap friendly. It's just not very good. I'm not totally against trading for Brodin, but I'm not for it either, and I'm going to show you why. So again, Jonas Brodin, he's got 1 year left. All right, so you got to re-sign him. He's going to be a UFA, so you got to re-sign him after this season. He's going to, at bare minimum, he's making $5.5 million a year. Next year, in cap space, this is this season. Right. Okay, so let me get into this part last. Let me get into that part last because I made a whole big ass thing about that. You know what? I'd rather again, because we're rebuilding, we don't need to win yet. I would rather wait for these kids and see what they are. They get a Brodin or trade for someone with more years on his contract. I don't think the Rangers are in a spot where I wouldn't give up future assets for a guy that could just walk in a year, because you don't know what's going through Brodin's mind. And then you re-sign him. Let's say you sign him like 5 years, $5.5, $6 million a year. Again, I'm gonna show you over there because I took this scenario where we traded for Brodin and I put it in that. No, they won't be proven right off the rip, but they're eventually, I think, going to be better. I like, and you know what, I like that Robertson, K'Andre, and Nils are all guys that have pretty good defensive games. Maybe not K'Andre as much, but they move the puck as well. So I think they could definitely be better than Brodin, but I think their floor is Brodin. At least for like a guy like Robertson, I think Robertson's floor is like a Brodin, or maybe what he will be. I don't know. And because I don't think we're ready to. Not that we're not ready to compete next year. I just don't think it's our biggest priority to just win the Stanley Cup next year. And now, with that being said, I'm the person that always says I think every team's goal going into every single season is to win the Stanley Cup and to never go into a year rebuilding. I also think it would be irresponsible to move futures for a guy that's just going to be a UFA in a year, because it'll be a similar situation like when we got Adam McQuaid. We got Adam McQuaid because we thought there might be a chance we can compete, and then we ended up losing. We ended up trading him for less than what we gave up. Yeah, I agree. You know what? I've come around to Cirelli. Yeah, I take him over Barkov right now because of, again, that salary cap, and he got into it here. Yeah, because that salary cap issue, it would just be a problem. It would just be a problem. And even bringing in a guy like Cirelli, believe it or not, is going to end up being a salary cap issue, and I'm going to show you why. Yeah, I agree. I think Cirelli is what we need. It's, you know what though, but $4.5 million a year is not that big for a guy like Ryan Strome, because Ryan Strome was producing at a guy that could be making $5.5 million a year even before Panarin got here. So I don't think it would be terrible. I think what's making it worse now is, again, the flat salary cap the next few years. So that 4.5 is going to hurt a little bit more. But when you have someone like Hito, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's tough. But I think at 5 years, $4.5 million a year for a guy like Ryan Strome, which is only like $1.5 million raise from what he's making now, it's a very movable contract. Someone will take a flyer on that. But I'll tell you though, it's really not, because if you look at the best teams in the league, their third line centers are in that $4 to $5 million range. Like St. Louis is paying Bozak $4.7 a year, something like that. I appreciate that. Was a good comment. But Barkov, yeah, that would be insane. I would love it, but I don't know. No, I tend to agree with that. I know Kreider can't carry a line by himself, but making $6.5 million. My point was more so, and I should have got into this more. My point more so was Kreider's getting paid the amount of money where you'd expect him to almost be able to carry a line by himself. $6.5 million is a lot of money. Here, we'll do a little math for you, right? Salary cap is 81.5 divided by 6.5. So Kreider's, why does that not seem right? No, 6.5 divided by 81.5. So Kreider's taking up by himself 8% of the team's total salary cap. That's a lot. I mean, and then if you do 23 divided by 8, 8 divided by 23. So he's taking up. So all right, we're gonna try to put it to you like this, right? Kreider's taking up 8% of the team's total salary cap, right? So in other words, out of the 23, there's 23 roster spots, right? He's taking up about 35% of that, right? So it's hard to explain these numbers. I'm trying to explain. I'm very tired right now, but just know that it's too much. It's too much for what he's bringing. I agree with that 100%. I agree 100%. But Kessel, well, are you talking about the line itself? Yes. Okay. No, I tend to agree with that very much so. But I don't think Kreider's on the same level as Kessel. Actually, I think, well, different areas. Hagelman's definitely better. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I just don't think that signing him was a good idea, or re-signing him rather. I agree with that. I agree. I hope we can bring him Barkov. I just don't think it's likely. Yes, I agree 100% with the amnesty buyout. They gotta because if the salary cap's gonna be flat, you gotta benefit the team somehow. First of all, I don't understand why the salary cap is as low as it freaking is right now. If you take a look at most other leagues in the world, like here, look at the MLB for example, the luxury cap. If teams can spend, let them spend. I understand the NHL wants to keep things even and Steven and all that crap, but if teams can spend money, like this is why, like hockey is the most expensive sport in the world to play, right? Is it not? If not, it's got to be second or third place. But our players in the top four sports, MLB, NFL, and NBA, they're the lowest paid out of all of them. How the hell does that make sense? If you raise the salary cap, you can give these guys more friggin' money. They've earned it at this point. I don't understand how hockey's the most expensive sport in the world, yet our professional athletes of the other top four sports is at the fucking bottom. How does that make sense? It ticks me off because these players deserve to get their bag and they ain't getting it. So we got to figure out a way to get the players more money. I think raising the salary cap is something we can do. But whatever, the league wants everything simple, state whatever. I'm not gonna get too into that. I hope Hito's gonna be nasty, dude. He's so flash of Offersheet and Barzal. I would love to, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. So before we get into the whole Brodin thing, I want to get into a little Anthony Cirelli, because a guy I've been following on Twitter for a while now. I tend to agree with him sometimes. was saying like he doesn't think Cirelli would be a good idea. Now, granted, I also didn't think Cirelli was a good idea until I took a deeper look at him. I kind of had an outside view of like, oh, whatever, yeah, he's not bad. And then I kind of got some more in-depth statistics, kind of the ones I went over yesterday that dude sent me on Twitter. Yeah, he's actually a pretty good freaking player. So when I see Anthony Cirelli, I'm like, the first thing I thought of was Ryan O'Reilly. Him and Ryan O'Reilly are on a pretty similar path. They're not first-round picks. And they're stuck behind two other centers. O'Reilly was stuck behind Duchesne and McKinnon. Cirelli is stuck behind Point and Stamkos. Now, O'Reilly at the time and Cirelli right now are nowhere near Stamkos and Point, and same way O'Reilly was nowhere near McKinnon and, what's his dick? Duchesne. So, yeah, they're deservedly third-line centers. But let's take a look at this, right? Third year in the league. Right here is where I believe he signed his offer sheet. So they're really only 1 year off. Yeah, wait. Signed his offer sheet after this season. Offer sheet, traded. Okay. So, third year in the league. On pretty much a similar pace, similar style games, great two-way centers. Both going to be RFAs, and they got to figure something out here. I think O'Reilly signed, after he finished his entry level, he signed a 1 year deal. Yes, this was a 1 year deal season. This was his 2 years when he got offer sheeted by Calgary. And that was his. Wait, did he get a 3 year offer sheet from Calgary? I could have swore it was a 2 year offer sheet. He signed a entry level, 1 year, 2 year. I think that's what it was. But either way, these guys I find them incredibly similar. They play almost the exact same style of hockey. Great at faceoffs, great two-way players, and can score. Now, I believe, let's see, what year did he get drafted? 2009, so it's 18. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. All right, so yeah, basically in the same kind of spot right about here, 24, 25, 26, 27. All right, roughly. So, I don't know. I when people say Anthony Cirelli doesn't have a ceiling, I kind of see him as like another Ryan O'Reilly. He's stuck on the third line Tampa Bay. He's kind of hit the highest point he can go in Tampa Bay, unless Braden Point and Steven Stamkos literally just evaporate like Thanos snaps his fingers and Point and Stamkos go. Cirelli is never going to play higher than the third line in Tampa Bay, and I think Cirelli deserves to play higher than that. I think honestly, Cirelli's the kind of guy you'd want to go for right now. He's 23 years old. He's still a kid. He's a freaking puppy, and if you can get him for good value. Why not? Like, look. Zadorov, B prospect, B prospect, B prospect, and a second-round pick. So, if the Rangers were going to trade for Anthony Cirelli with the same means that Ryan O'Reilly was traded from Colorado to Buffalo, you're talking Robertson. Let's see, I'm trying to think who's on the Rangers. Right. Matthew Robertson, you'd have to give up. You'd probably lose like a Morgan Barron. Maybe Gauthier, and even that, or like, I don't know. I don't think I think in the grand scheme of things, you wouldn't even really be giving that much. I think Anthony Cirelli would be a good idea to get for the Rangers. I think you can get him affordably too. Like I think you could re-sign him for a good price. I think Anthony Cirelli is the way to go. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Is I think Cirelli is the way to go. Now we're talking about Jonas Brodin, right? And where the hell does he fit in? So boom, UFA after the season. Yeah, you can re-sign him. Let's say we sign him liberally, saying we can re-sign him at $5.5 million a year. Well, the Rangers are gonna have $44 million in cap space the year that he's ready to go. So, okay, $44.5 million in cap space. We should have zero issue signing this guy then, right? Zero issue at all. Yes, sound. Here we go. Here's without Brodin on the team. $7.612 million in cap space. Oh, but this roster's not filled out. So, I went ahead, I did the re-sign stage. Buchnevich, $5.5 million a year. Again, I think that's almost giving. I think Buchnevich is going to ask for more. He'll give $3 million a year. Depending on what he does, could be a pretty liberal guess too. Strome, I'm just pretending we re-signed everybody. Strome, Howden, yada, 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 Foss. Cjethsyt, if he's not making over $7.5 million a year, he's making $6.5 million. Yada, yada, yada. Lindgren. All right, so now, right. This is what I was getting at. So, let's say you have Brodin on the team. Let's pretend you could afford him, right? Let's say the salary cap goes up. I even raised the salary cap by $1 million too. You fill out the roster with depth dude. We got depth dude. We got Morgan Barron, for example, and Leroy Hayek. Okay. So now you're down to 4.8. So you already right off the rip cannot afford him unless you move someone else out. Go to long-term outlook. So now next year, you have projected to $19 million in cap space. Let's say $20 million in cap space. You got to sign Robertson. We're not even going to count Hayek, Georgiev, Adam Fox, Capo Caco, Vitaly Kravtsov, and Zibanejad. 10.5 This will get you down. This will probably cost you. That's 12.5 right there. Now we're gonna talk about him. Let's say $3 million. So that's 15.5. He's probably gonna want 5 million. So now you're at 20.5. And Adam Fox is probably gonna want 6-7 million. So we'll call it $26 million. We can't fit in Sorelli. We cannot fit in Brodin. We literally cannot fit anybody in, so long as this contract, this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. Like any of these contracts. Like, okay, so let's just go back to Kreider for a second. So with Kreider on this team, we cannot afford to bring in anybody this season that is not going to screw us over in 365 days from now, or another year after that. There is literally nothing we could do so long as this contract exists, because this contract is holding the Rangers back from being able to do absolutely anything. And again, a big problem is Zibanejad is going to get $10.5 million a year. And if he gets anything less than that, he's being very generous and giving us a hometown discount. And I hope he does give us a hometown discount. But if he wants to get his bag, he deserves his freaking bag. And he's going to be a UFA. So the ball's going to be in his court. He's going to have every say in where he goes and how much he makes. And the Rangers need to pay him because Zibanejad's freaking gross. So they're going to have to figure something out, man. Because so long as that Kreider contract exists and Strome and Tony are on the team with that, we're not going to be able to afford anybody. And I think Tony's more important than Strome. I think you can make that case. But I don't know, man. The more I think about it, the more the Rangers got to shed a big contract. Whether it's Trouba, whether it's Kreider, it's someone's got to go. Yeah, man, I really don't know. But they got to do something. They got to figure something out. Again, this Kreider contract is really, it's screwing us. The Kreider contract is absolutely just screwing us right now, and we got to figure out a way to get around it. So yeah, I don't know. You guys comment below. What is the catharsis for this situation? Do we trade Kreider? I think we do. I think we still got to explore a way to get rid of Kreider before that no movement clause kicks in. I think the Rangers are going to shop Trouba. I don't think they're going to trade him. I just think it sets a bad precedent. Trade for a guy because he wants to go in a particular area. You trade him to that area and then you ship him out in a year. I just don't think it sets a good precedent for future players. I don't want to trade Tony, but it looks like. But then when you trade a guy like Tony, you're just gonna bring in another guy you gotta pay. So I don't know, man. The Rangers are in a very difficult spot, and I'm glad I'm not in the front office. Let the big dogs handle this. Let Gorton and Davidson handle this shit and let them figure it out. But I think trading Kreider is something they need to consider and do, because Kreider is a cap detriment to this team. So I don't know. You guys comment below your thoughts. Maybe you're seeing something that I don't. I don't know. Comment down below. What do you think should happen? And we'll see. Maybe I'll make another video tomorrow. I'm kind of on a streak right now, and I'm loving it. Till then, thank you everybody for watching the video. If you're watching this or not making it, comment down below, and